Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, live from Norway. Today we're going to be talking about the Green Goblin trials because I want to give a special thanks and shout out to Tana for the data mines, of course. And I think it kind of reaffirms sort of what we were thinking about in terms of the lanes. Now, we haven't actually officially been given this in the blog post from last night. But I think that this is safe to say, and honestly, I don't know why they haven't given it to us because it's right around the corner. If I'm not mistaken, the trials is actually on Thursday. Now, I will be back in Canada, back home on Tuesday evening, so you will see regular videos from me again coming from Wednesday, but I really wanted to get this one out to you guys because I think it's really important to start thinking about what characters we're going to be using for this trial. So, if you're ready to go, everybody, then let's boil this down. Now, very quickly, I'm sure you guys got a chance to see this, but I didn't get to do my usual blogs with Boilon Friday, of course. And so they basically talk about the Green Goblin trial event. I'm not going to go through this entire thing. You know, we know the points that you need to get this, and that if you want to go above difficulty 8, you're going to need to use both the New Warriors and Rebirth. However, they talk about the packs, difficulties and packs, but they don't actually talk about the lanes of the characters that you're going to need to use, which is strange. I don't know if this is an oversight, because normally they would include this stuff at the same time. So I'm not really sure what they're doing here. I'm not going to go through all of the pack. I mean, there's not that many, to be honest. You know, you can see it here. One thing that I did want to point out, though, some people were asking about these specific ones, Science Bros and Next Generation. Now, these are not intended for, they're not really intended for us. They're intended for, you know, the enemies, to make the enemies harder. So Pegasus characters gain the New Avengers trait, Hydra characters gain the Masters of Evil trait. That means they share passives, things like that. New Warrior characters gain the Rebirth trait, and Young Avengers gain Heroes for Hire. Again, this isn't really for us to be using, especially when you look at the kind of lanes that we're expected to do. This is just to make the enemies harder. Some of you might remember in the Black Cat trials, I think it was node number 10, there was like a Nova. Right, it was like Nowhere shares with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I believe there was like a bunch of like Infinity, like Gamora and like some other characters that shared with Nowhere, things like that. So I think that's really the intention of it behind that. So don't really worry too much about that. And there really isn't too many. Some of these are familiar from other trials though. Warp World, especially, I remember that one, and Second Wind I think was one of the other ones as well. So not too many there, but we'll talk about this in a separate video in the coming days. Now, I kind of want to point to, again, the data mines, which this was from Tana, and this shows some of the things. So, as you guys know, sorry, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cough. So, basically the first node number 1, is a free-for-all. It's always been like that since the trials anyways, and there's 3 nodes for the special characters, for Rebirth and New Avengers. So you have, like, I think it's 2, 5, 2, 6, and 10, something like that, 2, 5, 10, 2, 6, 10. One of those. And then you have the other 6 nodes which are available, which are going to be 3 different traits. Now, it's not going to be Hero and City that you see here. These are going to be what it is on lower difficulties. If you're running low difficulties, they either don't have traits or they have very limited traits, like very broad traits for things like under difficulty 4 or 4 or less. When you get higher, though, that's when you start getting to the more specific ones, which is City Villain. So instead of just City, you know, now you're being upgraded to City Villain. And so this one's interesting. We'll get into all 3 of them, though. The first one being City Villain. The second one is not Hero Blaster, so this one I think is a little bit less restricted. And the more restricted version is Global Blaster, so instead of Hero Blaster, it's Global Blaster. Maybe there's a chance that like one of them's Hero Blaster and one's Global Blaster, but I think they're probably both at higher difficulties Global Blaster. And then finally we have Tech. So these are going to be the 3 main traits for 2 separate nodes a piece, which is going to be probably Tech is probably towards the end. So we're looking at City Villain, we're looking at Global Blaster, and we're looking at Tech. So those are the 3 main lanes and main traits that we're going to be talking about in today's video. So we're going to start from the top, right? We're going to start with City Villain. Obviously, I don't need to talk about, you know, the free-for-alls, and that's pretty obvious. We'll take a little bit of a look at Rebirth. I just want to go out on a limb and just tell people now, my plan is to do difficulty 7 max Scourges. I'm not going to be touching difficulty 8. Oh my god, sorry guys. I am not going to be touching difficulty 8 because I don't want to build New Avengers. I've been very clear about that, I think, since my holidays and even before that. that I didn't really want to build new Avengers. So some of you might have, and you know, if so, then if you want to go to the moon and do difficulty 8 and above, but keep in mind that by doing difficulty 8 and above, you're also going to have these other lanes. The characters are going to need to be respectable enough to clear it. So just keep that in mind. My expectation is that difficulty 7 is going to be in the gear 15, maybe 16 maximum range. Like, that's kind of what you should expect as far as your characters go. Now, City Villain. So, it's essentially Sinister Six. It's Sinister Six. This, pretty much. It's Sinister Six with Black Cat. That's what the City Villain is. So, this is interesting, though, because I know a lot of people aren't touching this team necessarily, but I have, and this is great for me. Not to toot my own horn a little bit here, but this is going to be amazing for me. I have Doc Ock at gear tier 17. He's going to go to 18. I have Swarm maxed out at gear tier 18. Recently took Vulture to gear tier 18. He needs some more red stars, though. Can't find it for some reason. And then Electro at 7 red, gear tier 16. Not sure if I'm taking her. I'm taking her up to level 95, but I'm not taking her up any higher on the gear tiers, I think. And then I'm slowly upgrading Mysterio as well. So these are the 5 characters for the Sinister Six that I'm building right now. And of course, I do have Black Cat as well. What's interesting is Black Cat. So for those of you who do have Black Cat, because she's only come around one time, and unfortunately, it seems like we're not getting her before the pass of Green Goblin. But she does have the Spider-Verse trait. So why that is relevant actually is because Mysterio does have a passive that buffs Spider-Verse characters specifically. Like, Spider-Verse allies gain 20% focus and 20% max health. It's not a ton, but you know, it's a little bit of an extra bonus nod. Gain 20% focus per non-summon Spider-Verse ally, so he gets additional focus as a result of that. A lot of people kind of forgot about the different things that Mysterio does. So, I haven't really decided. I guess it depends on the nodes themselves, like what it looks like. If I'm going to be subtracting any of my Sinister Six members for Black Cat. Obviously, Black Cat is an incredibly strong character, but I'm wondering if breaking up that synergy will be worth it or not, because of how strong some of my characters actually are. Now, beyond Sinister Six, it's really grim. Honestly, you have Mr. Negative, you have Underworld, basically without Taskmaster. And let me tell you that for the most part, I think Taskmaster is the heaviest lifter in that team. If you've ever used Underworld in War, they're huge heavy lifters. Can you get some value out of Mr. Negative standalone? Maybe. You might get some. And they do have, because I wanted to go back to the blog post actually, that there is this world at war, so all war abilities are active during this run. Mr. Negative is a very powerful war character, so you'll get access to all of the things that he has in his text, suggesting even this on war offense, Underworld allies gain 50% max health. So they're all going to get buffed. If you do have Underworld, they're all going to get really buffed with Mr. Negative, but with the assist mechanic from Taskmaster, I really feel like that was where, you know, a lot of the damage from this team was coming from. So whether or not you get like a ton of use out of Mr. Negative for this, he has some fairly long cooldowns as well, at least in the special. The ultimate's pretty nice too as far as damage goes. Like, it's not bad. It's just that I wonder, if you haven't already done this, like, don't do it, basically, because you have Mr. Negative, Nobu, Kingpin's down here, Green Goblin, of course, who's also Sinister Six as well. But it's just not the full team, and Taskmaster really does a lot for that. You might be able to use like Mr. Negative standalone though, because he's actually not a terrible character with that, and he's most likely second in command of Underworld. I think that's who I built the most after Taskmaster. The rest of it is just complete garbage. Honestly, you have Hand, more Hand, you have symbiotes, right? But only the villain symbiotes, so Carnage, Scream, and Venom. And then, yeah, it's all Sinister Six. Honestly, they want you to build Sinister Six. But let me tell you this, guys. So, Sinister Six is a good build, because then you can also then take them as they've been reworked into the Black Cat trials as well. A lot of people laughed at me. Seriously, a lot of people laughed at me. I'm sure you all remember me about taking my Swarm into the Black Cat trials. And look at me now. I am super happy that I did this. And honestly, I think this was a good move on my part. And I'm more than satisfied with how things have gone out for me. But I know this video is not about me, but I just want to say that anyone who did invest into Sinister Six for the Black Cat Trials is now going to do really well, I think, and especially if you're continuing to build this team. So it is what it is. That's the first section, City Villain. Let's talk about the next one, which is going to be Global Blaster. This one's, it's okay. So there's some specific character callouts. You can see at the top of my roster, honestly, at this point. So you have Gambit, you have Archangel, you have Agent Venom, you have Bucky Barnes. I don't think he's very good standalone. There's Sunfire. We're going to get some synergy with Sunfire and Gambit. So, especially if you have Big Apocalypse, I would probably just use the two together at this point. And then you have a few other characters. There is Phantom X. And they're part of the same team. It's just that Phantom X still kind of sucks, and outside of Cosmic Crucible, he's even worse. So I don't know. You do have Ultron. This is going to be another big one. And honestly, if you have Ultron at Gear Tier 16 or even 15, I would highly recommend using him for the trials, because I think that you're going to get a lot of value out of his bots, specifically, you know, the bots that summon with the upgrades and the buffs and all that. Like, I think you're just going to get a lot of value out of this, assuming there isn't like a Kestrel or someone to just kick his ass. But I think that having like a reasonable Ultron is going to buff the rest of the team. I think we'll do a lot of value there. There is some characters like from the Pegasus team, for example, but you don't want to use them yet because you might want to use them for tech. So depending on what your plans are for tech, I would kind of leave certain characters alone here. But otherwise, at the bottom of the barrel, like, yeah, these are obviously characters I don't touch and you're not going to use them. So don't even consider them. You basically want to look in this like top 2 rows. There is Deathlock and Iron Man together. So if you have a really big Bionic Avengers, you're probably not going to be using these characters in, I mean, you might, maybe as a throwaway team in the tech lane, but otherwise you might be able to use them here. Deathlock and Iron Man combined with the offense stuff from Deathlock. He still does a reasonable amount of damage. I'm not sure how powerful Bucky is outside of raids. I'll be honest, I haven't really used Invaders much outside of raids. So maybe someone can let me know in the comments down below. But for sure, you're going to be using Gambit, Sunfire, Archangel, probably Agent Venom, and then your choice of a 5th character. You might maybe use Union Jack. Maybe you might use Bucky. Maybe you'll put Phantom X in. I mean, he does some on-spawn stuff, I think, for Unlimited X-Men. But I'm not really a big fan. He's going to give some armor, I guess, to them. So yeah, gain 10%. There might be some value in him, but his damage is garbage. So don't expect much from the damage side of things. But hopefully you can carry this with Gambit, Archangel, Sunfire, and then maybe Agent Venom has some good AoE damage as well. So, but it's very specific, right? Like if you haven't built the latest characters, you're not going to do well in this trial event. That's kind of what I've learned here. So yeah, that's Global Blasters. And last but not least, let's just talk about tech. It's fairly, I would say it's broad, but really you want to focus on the newest characters as you usually would. So we do have some Sinister Six characters, but I would not consider using them unless you've already cleared this section and where it's viable. So you'll notice that there's a lot of Sinister Six tech characters. You have Green Goblin Classic, like once you unlock him. Spider Slayer, I don't know if he's going to be available for this event or not, so you might not rely on him. You have Mysterio. You do have Shocker, but I wouldn't really invest in him. And you have Vulture. So Vulture, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Green Goblin Classic. That's like 4 of them right there. So you could actually, in fact, do a double Sinister Six lane if they happen to survive or they do really well and text the final lane. But take that with a bit of a grain of salt. There's still some really good other characters. So you have Kestrel. You have Kang the Conqueror. You have Doctor Doom. You know, for anyone who may have taken Doctor Doom to Gear Tier 18, maybe, like I did for Dark Dimension 6. So he's very powerful there. Even some other Gear Tier 16 characters. We have Shuri. I haven't taken her much beyond this, but, you know, you're still going to get a lot of good value as a support character. Because there's, other than Doc Ock and Shuri, there's no real other characters that can maybe heal or do some support. There is Rescue, of course, we'll talk about this. Spider-Man Big Time. So there's a good swath of characters that you could really choose from. Doctor Doom technically can heal on his time platform. You can use the entire Project Pegasus team, right? They're all here. Iron Man and Ultron's still there as well. So the same from Global Blaster, but you don't really want to double dip unless they're really healthy. So just keep in mind with that regard there. You could double dip and use some of these characters like Ultron for a second time if you want. You could combine, of course, Ultron with Kang because Kang's just amazing. So you probably want to use Kang. So you have a lot of choice here. You could use the full Project Pegasus team. You could use a hybrid team. You could use like a Kang, Ultron, Doctor Doom, Doc Ock, and like Vulture, something like that. You could use Spider-Man Big Time standalone. If there's a node that calls for Spider-Man Big Time's ultimate because he goes first, you know, to flip into Disrupt, then you might want to do that. There's a lot of good options here. I don't think this one is going to be the most challenging one. I think that if you've been keeping up with your roster and you've been keeping up with your building, I don't think this one's going to be that bad. I honestly think that of all of them, it could be Global Blaster, actually, but I have this strange feeling that a lot of people just did not want to or do invest into the Sinister Six. Now, the problem here, and I'm not sure if I really raised this earlier, is that if you don't have Kraven unlocked, I just don't think that we're going to have Kraven free to... I still don't even know where Kraven's coming from. Like, I don't know where the free-to-play unlock for Kraven is at this point. They haven't really said. They haven't... The events in the main event milestone does not appear to be Kraven-related, so I don't know where we're getting the Kraven unlock. Is he the month-long for December? That would be so far away. I don't even know what's going on with this team. It seems really weird that we're getting the Green Goblin Classic first before any of the other characters, and I don't even know where we're getting them. So you won't get Craven, and the only problem with this is that Craven is a superior 6 member. And there are callouts to having 2 or more superior 6 allies. So obviously Doc Ock is one of them, and then Craven would be the second one if you had unlocked him with cores or paying for him. Other than that, you probably won't be walking into this Trials with a second superior 6 member until you unlock Green Goblin Classic. So, I mean, this is, I guess, what I'd recommend is like doing maybe a low unlock, get Green Goblin unlocked, build them up, bring them back into City Villain, so you do Doc Ock, Green Goblin Classic, you know, when whatever other Sinister Six characters that you decide to use, or Black Hat. And that's probably the best thing, honestly. So I guess this video is more about making sure that your Sinister Six is at a point where you think that you're comfortable in doing whatever difficulty that you plan on doing. If that's difficulty 7, if that's difficulty 8, make sure your characters are up to the point that you need to have them. And so that's going to be really important going forward. The rest of the characters, I really wouldn't like to put too much investment into them because they're pretty old at this point. But basically, you want to think about Sinister Six and upgrading them now. So, that's going to be the end of the video, everyone. Let me know what you think about these sections. Which do you think is going to be the hardest for you and your roster? I would be interested in knowing in the description, in the comments down below. This may be my last real video that I'm going to be putting out for the next little while. I am going to be traveling back to Canada. I'm basically going back from Norway to the UK tomorrow, and then I'm going back to Canada on Tuesday. So there's a lot of traveling for me, so don't expect too many big videos, but I really wanted to get this out for you guys for the weekend, something for you guys to digest and think about. So that's going to be it, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.